But here's the big breaking news that's coming in at the moment. The Western world seems to have united at the moment for Ukraine. Emergency NATO summit in Brussels this evening, attended by top world leaders, including US President Joe Biden. NATO says it will send more arms to Ukraine after Zelensky called for support. During his address, President Bush says America is committed to ensuring Ukraine's territorial sovereignty. So that crucial meeting has taken place in Brussels, and our correspondents are across all the key European capitals. Joining us now, Gaurav Sawant is joining us from Warsaw. We also hope to be joined by Geeta Mohan from Moscow. But Gaurav, President Biden, Brussels today. He's going to be in Warsaw tomorrow. What's the sense you're getting? The Americans saying they will send arms to support the Ukrainians. Is it too little, too late in your view there?
Rajdeep, you've hit the nail on its head. Too little and too late. President Zelensky, and you heard him as he addressed the NATO conference virtually. He virtually wants a blank check in terms of surface-to-air missiles, anti-ship missiles. And he says, how are we inferior to NATO? He says after this meeting, it will be very clear who actually stands with Ukraine and who's only paying lip service and lip sympathy. That's exactly what he seems to be getting in terms of his country successfully stalling the Russian advance to Kiev for 29 days and counting. But how long can they continue to do that? Two major demands he had so far. One was declaration of a no-fly zone and the enforcement of a no-fly zone by NATO. That clearly didn't happen. He also sought peacekeepers on ground. That again didn't happen because Russia's nuclear saber rattling has not just Europe but the world on edge, especially America and that is why President Joe Biden had to fly in to Brussels, hold 3 summits, G7, European Union and NATO, all in an effort to rally support. But how tangible is that support on ground when both Germany and Hungary have a polar opposite view on saying no to gas and energy from Russia? So this is where the crux of the matter is. There is a lot of support, sympathy and a pat on the back for President Zelensky. But weapons, yes. Boots on ground and no-fly zone, no. And none of that successfully can deter President Putin from fulfilling his aim, which is either a regime change or a military victory on ground. And that's where he's heading.
Let's take that to Geeta Mohan, because Geeta, you're in Moscow. What's the sense you're getting a month on? I just read a New York Times article which suggests that there is a move that Putin is under pressure even within Russia the longer this war continues. Now you've got NATO slowly but surely encircling Russia when it comes to sanctions. Give us a sense on ground zero. What kind of pressure is Putin under at the moment?
Well, Rajdeep, Russia is one of the most sanctioned countries in the world. They've learned to live with sanctions this time around, although the sanctions are harsher. And that's why there are ways and means that Moscow is looking at to deal with the sanctions. But yes, they're waiting patiently. A month-long conflict in modern times is long enough. If it is going to be sustainable for Moscow or not, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, it just seems, Rajdeep, like Moscow has an advantage, an upper hand. Why? Because Europe and the West are a divided house. They're not united apart from the fact that they need to send humanitarian aid and stand by Ukraine. They're not united on how to stand by Ukraine, on how to ensure a Ukrainian win. For now, it seems like Russia is headed towards a settlement that would be advantage Russia rather than advantage Ukraine. Therefore, the pressure being only felt at a macro level, at a micro level over here on the ground in Moscow, in Russia. The domestic financial systems are in place to ensure that there is no disruption, neither of supply chain nor of cash flow.
So are you telling me, Geeta, that there is no sense that maybe Putin has miscalculated?
Well, in certain quarters, they still are befuddled, Rajdeep, and I ask them as to why this timing, why now, and why the kind of move that Putin has made into Ukraine. But none of them really saying that it's miscalculation. It just seems like a lot of people are saying that, yes, Ukraine entering or going beyond Donbass was something that took everybody by surprise. But quite a few of them saying that in all probability, Putin knows and has a plan in place. Look at the strategic and military planning of Russia, Rajdeep. Over here, if it is advantage Russia, and the fact that NATO and the West are not coming into Ukraine in itself goes to show that the calculation is not absolutely a miss.
Right. Very quickly, Gaurav, on the ground, what's the sense you're getting about the Russian advance? Has it been stalled completely now across large parts of Ukraine?
It's been stalled in Kiev, no doubt, and Kiev is very heavily fortified and defended. But as far as the Donbass region is concerned, Russia has made major inroads. Even the European Union has said that when it comes to the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov, that entire region, Ukraine is virtually cut off. The European Union has a lot of wheat supplies for the 3 million displaced people, and they are complaining that Russia is not permitting, the Black Sea Fleet of Russia is not permitting even that humanitarian aid to come in. That shows Russia controls the seas, Russia controls Kherson, Russia controls the Donbass region. Its tanks are now in Mariupol. So major parts of this country, in the south, in the east, in Russian control. As far as the north is concerned, beyond Chernobyl, Russia completely in control. So they are in control of major parts of Ukraine. Ukraine is now quite truncated.
Right.
They can sustain an urban fight, but can they sustain the missile attacks, and to what end, to what advantage, what is the end game? President Zelensky will cling on to power, stay on in power, but for how long will he do that if his country and the people are being devastated day in and day out, Rajdeep?
Gaurav Sawant, Geeta Mohan giving us up-to-date information from the ground. Appreciate both of you joining me here right at the top on the news today. Now, all of this, of course, as I said, is leading up to US President Joe Biden on that 4-day trip to Europe, trying to rally a global challenge to Russia, attending a NATO meet on Thursday, the military alliance saying that they will send more troops to member nations in Eastern Europe, but not troops on the ground in Ukraine itself.